Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk. Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is a show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show in our new digs here in the Hollywood studios of the Stream. We're so glad you're joining us today. And you know, listen, every single day for all of us, some days it sucks to be you, sometimes it's absolutely great to be you. This weekend, it was pretty cool to be us. I had a chance to go to Las Vegas and sit down and meet with Robert De Niro, Michael Douglas, Morgan Freeman, and Kevin Kline. A Fish Called Wanda is like one of my all-time favorite films. Chris Lee had a chance to go and interview Harrison Ford this weekend. I sent Amy Rose to London to go and interview the cast of Thor 2. Dennis did whatever Dennis does on the weekends. It was like just a great weekend for everybody. So, but anyway, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here.
We also have joining us our very own AMC Movie News production manager, Mr. Dennis Sen.
Yeah, my weekend wasn't as interesting as your guys', but me and Aaron did do the mailbag this weekend. We had some
and you did great.
We had some interesting reactions to our mailbag, to say the least.
We also have joining us director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened, Mr. John Schnapp?
What happened to me this weekend? Let's go into some construction, roofing, packing stuff, a lot of very interesting and boring things. So I'm very envious of their exciting weekend.
Woohoo! All right, well, as many of you know, the new Jurassic Park film Jurassic World is heading to AMC theaters on June 12th, 2015. But little else is known at this point about the new Steven Spielberg-produced film. There are reports that Bryce Dallas Howard and New Girl's Jake Johnson are in negotiations for the film, and now you can add a new name, Josh Brolin. According to reports, Brolin is now in talks with Universal to star in the new film as the lead character. No other details are given at this time. John, what do you think of a Jurassic World led by Josh Brolin?
You know, I've said on the show before, and even kind of recently, I've never been a big Josh Brolin fan, but in the last couple of months, I've kind of been warming up to him. Like, I really love the looks of Old Boy and what he's doing in there. The way he publicly handled the whole thing that he didn't get cast to play Batman and the class he kind of showed in that. Yeah, I'm warming up. I got to tell you, him in a Jurassic World, I think is great. I think he is a perfect fit. I can totally see his kind of mannerisms, his nuances, the way he carries himself. I think he would fit right in perfectly. Now, it's tough to say how good or how bad it would be without knowing the script and actually knowing the film. But when I just think Jurassic Park and I just think Josh Brolin, I see it as a really good fit. Dennis, what do you think?
Yeah, I like Josh Brolin. I mean, he was great in True Grit and No Country for Old Men. And I almost forget he was in W as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a movie that, yeah, he was good in that, but I think the movie itself was kind of forgettable. And I always think back, it's like he's the older brother from Goonies.
Goonies, I know.
Yeah, like when he first reappeared, I was like, he looks familiar, but I don't know who he is. But I like him. I think he's a good fit for a Jurassic World. So that actually brings more excitement for my anticipation for the movie.
Schnapp?
Yeah, you know, I was kind of hating on that whole idea of a fourth Jurassic Park, but then when they changed it to Jurassic World, I started for some just reason, just because it's just a different title.
The power of a title.
Power of a word. It's like Jurassic World, it's a whole world of dinosaurs. I started to get into it again. And Josh Brolin's an incredible actor, No Country for Old Men, and that Woody Allen movie where he played the writer. I can't remember. It came and went so quickly. It came out 2 years ago. He was incredible in that too, which I can't remember, but you guys can look it up on Google.
And you know what, too? He, as much as forgettable as the film is to me, him playing the older version of Tommy, or younger version of Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black 3 was great.
The best part of that movie was him.
Was him. Absolutely agree.
I'll say it before and I'll say it again. Who cares about who's in it? Bring on the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs. With the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving full steam ahead, a couple of new characters have been brought back into the Marvel fold recently, as Daredevil, having been reacquired from Fox, and the Punisher from Lionsgate. The question is, what is Marvel going to do with these characters? In a recent interview, President of Marvel, Kevin Feige, talked about the future of these two darker heroes. We're trying to figure out what to do with Daredevil now. Punisher could show up at one point. You know, once we get these characters back into the Marvel fold, we don't want to do something right away. We want to do the smart thing at the smart time. Schnapp, where do you think Marvel would and should go with Daredevil and Punisher?
Well, I said before on the show, I think Daredevil would be an incredible procedural television series. Now that they have S.H.I.E.L.D., they can open up the world with Daredevil. I mean, he's a lawyer. That's television right there. And you can have incredible cases fighting the Kingpin and just make a really amazing, dramatic, almost like Breaking Bad style thing with Daredevil on TV. I think the movie, they already tried it. I'd much rather see him cinematically bound. Punisher, I think, would work great as a reboot movie, but put him into like a Marvel Knights. They also have Moon Knight. They have a lot of characters that they could still have in the Marvel universe, but just shift it more towards a Marvel Knights universe. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, the Punisher, he kills people. I mean, it almost has to be rated R.
Dennis?
Yeah, I think it seems like Marvel's concentrated on Daredevil because he is more of the family, audience-friendly character. It sounds like
out of the two, at least.
Out of the two,
Yeah.
And so it sounds like Punisher they're trying to fit him in, but they don't know what to do, so they're going to concentrate on Daredevil. I would love to see what Marvel does with Daredevil and Punisher. I didn't hate the first Daredevil. I thought it was okay, but definitely with what Marvel's been doing with all their other properties, I think they can turn out something that appeals to a lot of the fans, but also, is maybe a little bit darker or edgier.
All right. Well, I mean, I've said before about the Daredevil film. I still stand by this, by the way. You take out that god-awful teeter-totter scene, and I will call Daredevil a great comic book movie if you take out that scene. But it's there. I don't know that. I think if you had a Daredevil franchise that focused a lot on the lawyer by day thing, I think people would. I don't think people want to see that. It's like seeing a movie with 90% Bruce Banner, 10% Hulk. But I could be wrong about that.
Well, I was saying not a movie. I was saying if it,
I know,
if
but
it went
even
TV.
as a TV show, I think people would get fatigued with it. I think Punisher is an interesting thing because I think if Marvel were to do something with Punisher, and I like how honest Feige is when he says we're trying to figure out what to do with these guys. I mean, because really, because remember, Marvel didn't actively go out and reacquire these properties. They just fell back to them because Fox and Lionsgate kind of gave up on them and let them go. Now Feige's like, we're trying to figure out what to do. Daredevil's a challenge. The bigger challenge, though, to me is Punisher. Because you're right, he's R-rated. He kills people. He does not fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. I think if Disney was going to do something with Punisher, it would have to be outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that you go into a new world that they create, has no Avengers, there's no Thor, there's no Iron Man, it's just him in his own world. But how's this for a theory? We know that Vin Diesel's been talking for a while about the fact, yeah, he's doing Groot, but he's got another secret Marvel project he's working on aiming for 2016. What if he's the new Punisher? I mean, we've all been talking Vision, and we've all been talking about a couple of other guys, but we've never thought of Punisher. What would you think about him fitting into something like that?
Interesting.
You're not jumping out of your seat
No,
about
I'm
it,
not.
though?
I'm like him, like on those little bouncy things when he's playing as Groot. I'm like him as a Punisher. I mean, he's a great actor. I love the new Riddick, so I'm sure he could pull it off. He doesn't pop into my mind immediately, though.
All right, I'll stand alone on that one. All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Crystal Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and then Schnepp, Dennis, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Crystal Lee, what do we got?
As many of you know, writers, producers Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman are currently working on bringing both a Van Helsing reboot and a new Mummy movie to the big screen for Universal Pictures. However, in a recent interview, Orci revealed that their plans may go much further than that, suggesting that they're looking at creating a shared cinematic universe for the catalog of Universal classic monsters. Dennis, buy or sell the idea of a Universal monster cinematic universe?
Oh, I buy it. I think it's great. I think, if you can get like Frankenstein versus Wolfman or like Creature from the Black Lagoon against the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something like that, I think that would do well. I mean, Van Helsing obviously was not a well-received movie. I didn't like it, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
I actually like the Mummy franchise though, especially the first two. I didn't see the third one, but I like the first two. So I think it's a good idea that they're kind of taking this Marvel approach of like blending these universes together. So I definitely buy this.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I totally buy it. I'm so excited about when I read that. I was like, I can't wait to see like Frankenstein fighting the Wolfman with Creature from the Black Lagoon. Just put them all in, and I think having those guys, they're good franchise builders. So I believe that they're going to fix Van Helsing. I mean, we all saw the original Van Helsing.
You mean it was broken?
Yeah. Well, Hugh Jackman never came back for that sequel. I don't know. I mean, I think he was like, just leave that the Frankenstein with the glowing brain. Yeah. It's gone. So
I mean, what the excitement that some people get, and that I still get goosebumps when I think of Superman and Batman on screen together. But I remember as a kid watching an old black and white thing. Remember, there's that old movie of Dracula versus Frankenstein. When Dracula's out trying to get the secret. I'm just like, okay, that excites me. Seeing Wolfman and Frankenstein, or Dracula, or the Mummy, and like all these different creatures. I think this would be fantastic. How do you put it together? How do you make it work, and how do you make it good? That's going to be the big question. But you know what, Kurtzman and Orsi, I really do trust these guys. Yes, they do have their odd Cowboys versus Aliens fiasco, and that's fine. But they've done some really great work. And I even really like the new TV show that they've been producing, that Sleepy Hollow, which I think is really good. So I believe in these guys. I trust them. So for me, it's a buy.
With Avatar 2, 3, and 4 officially on the way, there were initial hopes that Avatar 2 could be in AMC theaters by 2015. Word came out some time ago that the sequel would probably, however, not hit theaters until 2016. In an interview this week, Avatar star Sam Worthington again confirmed this by stating that they won't actually start shooting the next Avatar until late 2014, and that they'll be shooting Avatar 2, 3, and 4 all together at the same time. Schnepp, buy or sell shooting the 3 Avatar sequels at the same time?
I totally buy it. I kind of wish they would shoot 5 and 6. I'm not like why is it 4? Like Spider-Man 4, Avatar 4. What's up? Get 5 and 6 going. Shoot them all together. That's what I'm like. They make television series. They shoot 22 episodes. You can make 6 movies. Let's do it. I'm all for it. I also am for them pushing it to 2016, because 2015 we're all going to be dead. Seeing like there's 800 movies over there, all like, I can't, we'll be broke, crying, too much popcorn, shattered spirits. How are we going to survive 2015? Push Avatar to 2016. I'm cool with that.
Dennis?
Yeah, I buy it as well. I don't think we need to see a 4, 5, and 6. I disagree with you there, but James Cameron, he excels at sequels. I mean, come on, Terminator 2 and Aliens, 2 of the best action sequels of all time. So I trust it, so I buy it.
I buy it too. I mean, it just makes sense too, because you know, Snep, we've talked about this before, just from a filmmaking point of view. It is infinitely less expensive to shoot these things all together as one massive project than shoot this thing, break, come back again 2 years later. And I really love the idea that these films are going to be coming out year after year after year, 2016, 17, and 18, instead of shooting one movie, waiting 3, 4 years, in the case of a Star Trek, for the next one to come out. Strike while the iron's hot. Get it while it's at its most popular and go with it. I think this is a great idea. Yeah, so for me, it's a buy as well.
Also, actors. I mean, like, they shot all that Hobbit stuff. Christopher Lee is like in 90s, bedridden. They had to go to his house to shoot those scenes of the Hobbit. They basically set up right next to where his bed was to shoot these. So you got to get all of it together. You know, you don't want an actor to, you know, have a die.
Yeah, logistically, it makes a lot more sense too.
Thor: The Dark World opens in AMC theaters everywhere in just a few weeks on November 8th, and this past weekend, one of the stars of the film, Tom Hiddleston, was asked by our friends at Collider if there would be a possibility for a future standalone Loki movie. Hiddleston stated that there are currently absolutely no plans for a Loki movie, and that he believes Loki is at his best when playing off of Thor, since he believes Loki and Thor are almost defined by each other. John, would you buy or sell a Loki standalone movie?
I got to sell it, actually, because I completely agree with his logic. Now, while I also saw, because I mean, I think Loki's going to die in this next movie. I hope I'm really dead wrong about that. But while I would love to see a Loki movie because he's one of my absolute favorite characters in the cinematic universe, he's absolutely right. He is defined by that relationship he has with Thor. You know, one of the things I loved about the performance he brought to this character so much is that he is so multidimensional. Like when he's talking with Thor, he's almost got like a Smeagol and Gollum thing going on. You can see in his performance these nuances that he really loves his brother, but he really hates him. You know, he wants great things for his brother, but he wants to kill him at the same time. And you always see that struggle going on in him that I don't think every actor could bring. And I think he's masterful at that, but he's right. A Loki movie without Thor, I just don't know that I'd be that into as much as I love him and the character. Dennis, what do you think?
I buy it just because Loki is so beloved. I mean, people like Loki more than Thor.
Yeah.
So I understand what he's saying, but I think if you did maybe a Loki movie that Thor is in, but he's just not the main character, I think it could work just from his perspective.
You know, on top of that, I remember when the first Thor movie was coming out, I went to a press conference with it. There was me, about 30 other journalists, and more than half of them were women there. And, you know, up on the panel, you had Anthony Hopkins, of course you had Chris Hemsworth, you had Kenneth Branagh, and you had Tom Hiddleston. And it was crazy, like I couldn't believe it. Like a lot of the girls were talking, of course they were all excited to see Chris Hemsworth, but walking out of that place, all they were talking about was Tom Hiddleston. It was kind of crazy. Anyway, Schnepp, what do you think about the idea of a standalone Loki film?
I gotta sell it. I'd rather see Ulick, the king of the trolls.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think he works as Thor's adversary. As a standalone movie, probably not so much. I mean, I could see him popping up maybe in like an episode of The Avengers or like the Shield television series. Maybe like in the second season, once they've got everything together, he could actually be a villain, a crossover villain. Like, I mean, he's the one who put the Avengers together, so to speak, in the comics and in the movie. So
it's true.
And even if he does die, no one really dies. Look at Coulson. Like, no one really dies in these comic book movies. So
I can't believe you just said Loki died. I think you might break my heart. Jane can go, but we can't kill Loki.
We're just conjecturing.
Terrible. The third installment of the Night at the Museum series is set to hit AMC theaters on Christmas of 2013. Ben Stiller returns to lead the film, which will once again be directed by Sean Levy. According to reports, another actor is close to rejoining the cast as well. Robin Williams is said to be currently in negotiations to return as Teddy Roosevelt. Dennis, buy or sell Williams returning to Night at the Museum 3?
I have to sell it. I like Robin Williams. I like him a lot, but I didn't see the Night at the Museum series, and I didn't really have any interest. And I know the second one didn't do as well as the first one, so I don't know. I just have no interest at all.
Well, as a point of correction, actually, the movie comes out in Christmas 2014. That's an error I made earlier. But the second film did make less than the first one. But keep that in context, that the first one made $545 million, and the second one, while dipping, still made over $400 million worldwide. So it made Pacific Rim money, which, I mean, a lot of us are jumping up and down excited that it finally crossed that $400 million. So it made cash. But I am also going to sell it, just not because I didn't like the films. I actually kind of enjoyed the Night at the Museum films, and I really enjoyed Robin Williams in it. But I'd almost like to see them progress beyond some of the standard characters they have. I love that Ben Stiller's coming back, but I'd like to see if they're going to do a third one. I personally would have liked to have seen him gone with new, different types of not reincarnate, but animated characters to see them on the go, as opposed to the ones they've done twice already. And for that reason alone, I'm going to sell it. Schnepp?
I got to sell it too, because I'm with Dennis. I didn't see the first or the second. I was waiting for this trilogy. So in 2015, I'll just hopefully, AMC will have all three of them playing. I'll just get to see all of them at once. But I'm more excited about Army of Darkness 2. Bruce Campbell. He just announced it.
Before we started shooting, he was just talking about this.
We got to say that Bruce Campbell said last night, he announced that Sam Raimi is doing officially Army of Darkness 2. So, just, has nothing to do with Night at the Museum. Just wanted to throw that in there.
All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show called Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question that you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we get over 1,000 questions every week, but we get through as many as we can. So every day we pull out a couple questions. Don't forget, on the weekends, we also do Mailbag on Saturdays and Sundays, where all we do is take your questions. But for right now, Chrisley's got a few messages pulled out of the mailbag. So, Chrisley, what do we got?
Evan K. writes, "Hey guys, love the show. I've seen lots of comments and reviews on the internet where people bash writers and their dialogue. However, I haven't been able to see where they are coming from. So my question is this: how big a role does dialogue play when it comes to a film? How important is it compared to other parts of a movie? And what does it take to make it good? Thanks, and keep up the great work."
Dialogue is one of those things that you can't overemphasize how important it is, but it's not always the most important thing, right? If you look at anything to do with, like, say, Kevin Smith, in his best films, whether it's things like my favorite Kevin Smith film was still Clerks 2. I love that film. That thing is totally dependent on its dialogue. It's not the action, and when we say action, we don't just mean fist fights. We mean what happens. It's not just about the action. It's really mostly about the dialogue and the interaction between the characters. So in a Kevin Smith movie, dialogue becomes absolutely essential. Coen Brothers movies are all completely dialogue-centric. Yes, they have great action, and the concepts are wonderful and immersive and brilliant, yes. But the beauty of those films, what makes them really memorable, is the dialogue that comes out of the characters' mouths. Then you get a film like, say, Man of Steel. Still my favorite film of the year. But the dialogue isn't exactly the most important thing in that film. The exposition of the film is, what happens, and the dialogue just serves as a vehicle to take you from point A to point B to point C, as opposed to the dialogue being the key and central focus. So in many movies, dialogue absolutely essential. In some movies, dialogue isn't the most important thing. Look at Gravity. I love Gravity, but the dialogue is not exactly Oscar-worthy, but it doesn't matter, because that's not what the type of movie that this one was. So, Yeah, there's some movies you can sit back and walk out knowing there was bad dialogue and rolling your eyes like crazy, but then some you can walk out and there was bad dialogue and it doesn't really make a difference because that wasn't the focus point. Schnepp, as a filmmaker, as a director, how do you see this? How does this all work out in your head?
Well, I think first and foremost, it does start with a really good script and really good dialogue to get you into it. But then workshopping with actors, a lot of actors bring so much to the character that they might influence even the way the character talks and the way the lines are delivered. It doesn't influence point A to point B, the actual storyline, but the inflections and the actual way someone speaks eventually can change dialogue completely, but the scene is still intact. The scene still starts with the characters. Whatever has to happen with those characters happens to get from, you have to move the story forward, but you want to have that flexibility, especially when you're working with really, really talented actors. You want to give them that opportunity to like add, to build onto it, So I think it's an ebb and flow kind of thing. It's like and sometimes you get a script that's not that good, and you want to be able to workshop it, and like bring the stuff that's in the script out.
None of the ones that you've written. But.
No. Mine are always, I never change anything. No.
Gold on paper.
Man, they're gold paper. Yeah. They're like, no, but any script, mine or any other scripts, excuse me, any other scripts I think are always good to workshop. And I'm sure the Coen brothers and I'm sure Kevin Smith, they do that too. I'm sure they workshop it and an actor would be like, hey, can I say it like this? And be like, yeah, no problem. As long as it's really the drive is to get through each scene to deliver to the next scene. That's the goal of any specific scene. The way it's written. So,
Dennis?
I think dialogue is very important. I think like bad dialogue can take you out of a movie, but I think one of the things that I think audience members and even myself, sometimes it's hard to distinguish between bad dialogue and bad acting, because sometimes a really good actor will get bad dialogue, but they're good enough to like make it smooth that you don't notice, or sometimes you get some good dialogue with a bad actor. And then it just sounds really bad. So I think it's a fine line between those two things. But I do think it's very important just to make sure it doesn't take you out of the movie. Because that's one of the things, at least for me, like when there's some really bad dialogue or badly delivered dialogue, I just like, oh man.
And you also get that when you could have like a mediocre script and an amazing actor and then a mediocre director. You get that Jeremy Irons Dungeons and Dragons screaming, I will destroy you. You're like that. My mind just went to that like, yes, please scream louder. Well, no inflection. No, just yell the whole time. You're angry. It's like, that would also, you don't even know what the script was because it just destroyed.
I'm going to be thinking about Dungeons & Dragons all day now. Thank you very much for that horrible memory. Anyway, what do we got next?
Nori writes, hi there, people. As you are in the movie business, maybe you can explain something that has been bugging me for years. Why is it that very rarely do the giant blockbuster movies that make hundreds of millions win at the Oscars? Why is it that most Oscar wins go to movies no one watched that keep pushing the lie that true art is angst? I, for one, enjoy fun movies that are lighter, but these are almost never win depots making $1 billion, like Avengers. So why is this? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Well, let's get through this first. We bring up on the show every once in a while, never become confused and confuse quality for popularity. They are not, sometimes they are the same and they meet, they have this wonderful middle ground where they can meet, and sometimes they're completely different things. Just because a lot of people went to go see one movie, look, the #1 highest box office gross movie of this year so far is Iron Man 3. Now, I know I loved the film. I actually had a lot of fun with it. I know Schnepp really liked the film, had a lot of fun with it. Dennis, I can't remember how much you liked it.
I liked it.
But a lot of people didn't.
Yes.
A lot of people very angry at that movie.
The Mandarin, maybe.
Mandarin did this, yeah. And I think, so there you see a juxtaposition, right? There's a lot of people who didn't like it, but it's the #1 box office movie of the year. Popularity does not necessarily equal quality. One of my all-time favorite films, Life is Beautiful by Roberto Benigni, right? Not a lot of people wanted to go see it. I mean, worldwide it did quite well for the type of film it was, but it's not like it was a $100 million domestic movie or anything, but one of the best films ever made. A lot of times, if people are going to go see a movie, it's based on the trailers, whatever, and they go see it on opening weekend, and just because a lot of people went to go see it doesn't mean they walked out happy. And also, just because commercials or trailers or the subject matter or whatever didn't entice a person to go see a certain movie, doesn't mean the movie wasn't absolutely brilliant and genius. But I do want to challenge your thinking a little bit when you say that, big movies never do well at the Oscars and it's always these little tiny ones. Well, not so. Last year, I believe there were 7 films nominated for Best Picture. Only one of them, Beasts of the Southern Wild, did not gross at least $100 million domestically. Every other film last year that was nominated for Best Picture, and won, Argo by the way, made over $100 million domestically. And you can run down Titanic won Best Picture at the Oscars, and it is the second largest grossing film of all time. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, won 11 Oscars, set the record, it set the tone, won every category that it was nominated for, 11 Oscars. Huge box office smash success. So let's not, sometimes it can feel like maybe, oh, all the films there are just these small little artsy films, but it's not true. Just like we talk sometimes that sometimes it feels like there's just sequels and remakes coming out until we sit down on the show and we run through all the upcoming movies and realize 95% of them are not remakes or sequels. So I understand it can feel like that, but challenge your own thinking because it's not really the case. Dennis, do you think there's a big disparity between successful movies and films that get acclaim?
No, I don't think so. I'm with you. I think it's just the quality of the movie. Whether it's popular or not popular, it doesn't really matter for the Oscars. And you brought up two great examples, Titanic and Lord of the Rings, or Return of the King. I guess they wanted to honor the last one of the trilogy. And those other two got nominated as well. And you have something like Avatar get nominated as well. So I don't think that's the case. I think it's just a perception thing. And maybe a lot of people just haven't seen those smaller movies. And maybe if they do, they'll say, wow, those actually did deserve to get nominated.
Yeah, you know, an interesting thing about that, too, is that the same reason why I've always detested the idea of the MTV Movie Awards and things like that is that I've never wanted an award show to be voted on by people who saw 5 movies last year. You know, so you get the MTV Movie Awards and, you know, people can just go on and just say, oh, Twilight was my favorite movie of the year, and they vote for it, and then it wins a bunch of awards. Because even though there were 500 films out last year, the people who saw 5 of them get to vote. And I think that goes to a lot of, look, not everybody is like the three of us at this table. I mean, we'll go see, you know, 10, 12, 15, 20 sometimes movies a month. But that's us. Not everybody is like us. So a lot of times, some people go to maybe 12 movies a year. They go to 15 movies a year. And so they're a little bit selective about what looks good to them and appealing to them. And maybe in some cases what they think their date is going to like or their children are going to like or whatever, and they make their movie choices appropriately. And sometimes maybe that won't be like Life is Beautiful or one of the smaller films. So yeah, once again, just never confuse popularity with quality. Anyway, Schnepp, how do you see this?
Well, you guys brought up a lot of points that I was going to mention as well, but one thing specifically about the Oscars or any awards type ceremonies where they give out awards, the question was sort of like, oh, how come movies I like don't get, how come it's always these kind of angsty or whatever, like artsy films or whatnot? I look at it as like, look, I mean, you're lucky to be able to see all these different amazing genres. Like, I would say, well, how come Lords of Salem didn't get nominated? Because that's, to me, an incredible horror film. Horror films are never nominated, ever, because there's a disparity in like what the general populace of perhaps, say, the Academy would consider a good movie. So what people like me or a bunch of us would see as like, oh, this specific type of a genre, and then this is a great, maybe Carrie is a great version of this genre of filmmaking, but it's never even thought of. It's just discarded immediately. So, I mean, you have to pick your battles as to what you think. The Oscars are always going to be, big movies that like Les Mis, these bigger types of films that like cater to the family, also cater to middle-aged people, to young adults, but kind of cross over and are meaningful in some way. I think that's what the Oscars are about. They're bringing the idea of what movie this year was meaningful that you should see and should win at the top prize of the most meaningful film. It's not like all films.
Yeah.
That's why The Dark Knight didn't win an Oscar. They gave one to Heath Ledger because he was an incredible actor in that film that earned it. I mean, The Dark Knight, I love The Dark Knight, but to me it's like versus like when you say an artsy film, I don't think we're talking about like some experimental clowns in a cube. It's like a story that's meaningful and moves you. So that's what I think the Oscars are. The Golden Globes are more, a little more smoothed out. Like Charlie's Angels can fit in there. I don't know if Halloween would, but you know what I mean? So I think that there's awards for everybody. So, if you're upset about awards, go online and you'll find your films were probably won a bunch of awards. Your favorite films, type them in, look them up, and I bet they won something.
at somebody.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just reemphasizes the point, too, of the thing we're always talking about on the show. All film is absolutely subjective. There is no measuring stick. Like, if you want to tell who's the fastest runner between me and Dennis, simple. Get out a stopwatch, we'll run, and you can time it, and you can measure it. If you cannot measure it, it's subjective. You know, we've said before, you can get a piece of art hanging on the wall and 10 people standing around and looking at it, and they're all going to see 10 different things. And that's what movies are. Movies are art, and we'll have a subjective. And things like the Oscars have 6,000 people voting on it who are all judging based on their own subjective experiences and feelings. And they're all completely different people. So, you know, there are a lot of times there are films that I love that I wish would be nominated, but they don't. And I'm sure there's many times films that you love wish would be nominated and they don't. But that's just film. I mean, that's subjective. And so it's important to keep that in mind, too. Well, listen, folks, that will do it for us. We have run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we do anything else, so I want to once again thank those people who are joining me today. First of all, sitting to my immediate right, the production manager of AMC Movie News, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero and just chat with me there.
The director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, and regular here, Mr. John Schnepp. John, where can people find you online?
At Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp. And also, you can find all of us from the AMC Movie Talk. We're going to be at Stan Lee's Kamikaze on November 1st at, I believe, 3:30 is the panel?
3:30, yeah.
So we'll all be
on
up
the main
on stage. There might be some other people joining us that we can't announce yet.
We can't talk about yet.
John Campia said we can't talk about these amazing people who might be joining us on stage at 3:30 on November 1st. So you should be there at Stan Lee's Kamikaze, Los Angeles Convention Center. So.
And, of course, the girl who makes everything run around here, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram @Chrisley. And I know when you guys say amazing people, you mean all of us girls.
Yes.
No, that's what you mean.
No doubt.
Totally what we were talking about.
And you can find me on the different social media channels just at John Campia. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Listen, don't forget, there's a lot of great films playing right now in AMC theaters everywhere. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.